story came out. Rob G, correct me if I'm wrong. You're the big Raiders fan here.
Yes.
And the story is out that Jim Harbaugh, who just led the University of Michigan to the college football playoff, their first ever.
Which they hadn't been there,
number 3. Right. They finished number 3. But they are saying that Jim Harbaugh is the favorite, or one of the he's the favorite. That's a report that he is the favorite to become the next head coach in Las Vegas with the Raiders. Now, here's the thing. I mean, I guess that's just Mark Davis's call because they just fired the GM, Mike Mayock, right? Yep. So who's calling the shots football wise? I guess it's Mark Davis.
No, they're gonna have to bring somebody in. I just.
So if they bring a guy in, Rob, wouldn't you bring a guy in before you hire Jim Harbaugh or whoever you're going to hire?
Well, you might bring them in together. Like that happens too, where the guy knows, I want to hire Jim Harbaugh. Can you work with Jim Harbaugh? Hey, Jim, can you work with Bill Smith? You know what I mean?
That's what they did in San Francisco.
Right.
That's how Shanahan and Lynch.
Exactly. That's how things go sometimes where you just – and then, Harbaugh could say, I can't work with this guy. No, I can't. And then you got to decide, well, I really want Harbaugh, so I have to find another general manager. You know what I mean? Who could work with him. And if the general manager said, no, I don't want Harbaugh, I don't want to work with him, then you probably won't hire him. So I think that's how it's going to go.
Say, though? Somebody's got to get final say other than Mark Davis.
Yeah, I think Jim Harbaugh, because of his experience in the NFL, Chris, and his resume, unless there's a general manager sitting around, is it Jerry Reese, who used to be the Giants GM and won 2 Super Bowls?
Is he sitting around?
Did a
great job.
Yes, they couldn't wait to run him out of the Giants.
Isn't it?
Am I right? Yeah, and Jerry Reese
absolutely ridiculous.
won 2 Super Bowls there. So I don't know. I unless it's somebody like that, but Chris, most of the applicants won't have any Super Bowls in their back pocket. They just won't. And not that Harbaugh has one, but he's been to one.
Right. Now, he did a great job when he was in San Francisco. There's no doubt. Look at this, Rob. First year, 13-3.
Oh, yeah.
And they have been 6-10 the year before. Second year, 11-4-1. Third year, 12-4. And then it fell apart, 8-8. He had problems with the front office.
With the front office and ownership, right. That's when everything went south. Chris, he has a track record in the NFL. I wasn't big on him at Michigan. And he wound up getting it turned around after year 7. I just think, thank your lucky stars. You cleaned up your image and your name. And if you want to coach in the NFL, Chris, your stock will never be higher. This is it.
So do you think you have any problem with him being, number 1 on the Raiders list? And if that's the case, Rob, and they want him, you think he should take it?
Either that, excuse me, I look at 2 jobs. I look at that and the Bears. Those 2 jobs. Being that he grew up in Ohio, right? Is he from Toledo? He's from Ohio.
Toledo. Born in Toledo, I believe. Yep.
Born in, and then was raised up in Ann Arbor, right?
Yep.
But and then, the Bears are one of the original franchises and traditional franchises and one of the cornerstones of the NFL. So you can't go wrong there with the Bears. They have a defense, right? Not as good as it was a couple years ago, Chris, but they need to figure out something with the quarterback, where they're going, what they can do.
Well, they got that's their guy.
Right. They got to figure out, I'm saying, what to do with him. And
Harbaugh, remember, was the guy that unleashed Colin Kaepernick.
Absolutely. He's the one, and you got to give him credit, as Charlie Hayes would say, but you got to give him credit for doing it. And the Las Vegas job, Chris, they made the playoffs given all that they went through. I mean, there's a resilient bunch there. Would you not say that?
No, they did a great job. Just to get to the playoff with all the tragedy that went on. I mean, John Gruden scandal, Henry Ruggs, their best receiver, killing a person in a DUI.
Right.
And it's not, Rob, just that Ruggs is going to, spend maybe the rest of his life or certainly a good part of it in jail, but it's also that he killed a person. That's that emotional, the emotions that can bring for a locker room. When a guy you're good friends with, or who's been in the trenches with you, and you know what's in store for him. So, yeah, they did a great job. Here's what I'm gonna say, Rob. Now, if the University of Michigan will ante up and pay Jim Harbaugh, because he took a huge pay cut last year, and rightfully so. He hadn't gotten the job done. He had done fairly well, but not what they expected. He wasn't living up to that contract, and he took a pay cut. So now it's a reversal, Rob. The ball was in their court.
Yep.
They had all the cards, right?
And they acted on it, Chris.
Exactly. They didn't go, oh, he's the big Jim Harbaugh. Oh, he was a good NFL coach. We're lucky to have him. No. They cut his salary.
Right, big time.
And now he's the one with the cards in his deck, with the ace of spades and the colored joker and all that. The big joker, right? You know what I'm talking about. And he should demand, and I think, Rob, you remember a few days ago when he was asked about all the rumors, to the NFL, probably, Rob, the reporter asked him, expecting him to denounce them, right? Usually, even if they're real, a guy usually, oh, no, I'm here. I'm staying at Michigan. Don't worry about that. Even if he's secretly negotiating to get to the NFL.
No, right. Normally, that's what they do, right?
Right. What Harbaugh did, Rob, though, was say, oh, a lot better than the rumors that were going around on me last year, which that he was going to get fired at Michigan. And so he's playing with it, Rob. He's letting it hang out there, which tells me my gut, Rob, is that more so than him wanting to go to the NFL, I feel like, and I don't know that he's putting I don't think he's putting these rumors out there. I think he's using them, though, for leverage to get his money back, to get a big contract with Michigan. I think, I could be wrong. I'm pure speculation.
No.
I think he wants to stay at Michigan, get paid, and I think if they pay him, Rob, he should stay. My feeling is that, no, the job is not done. And I'm not saying you got to win a national championship. What I am saying, though, is you got to get to the point where Ohio State is, or that's when the job is done to me. When you get to the point where Ohio State is, where every year we expect them to either be in the playoff or right there on the edge. That's where you got to get the University of Michigan. 1 year is nice. Rob, Ohio State was down this year, right? We're expecting them to be in the playoff next year, or at least right there fighting for it. And that's where you've got to get the University of Michigan. If you're Jim Harbaugh, if you struggle next year, and it was nice, that you got us there, but Alabama doesn't struggle ever. Clemson was down this year, but Georgia, LSU, been down a little bit. They got to get their coaching situation straight. But usually some of these power teams, they stay good. And that's where you got to get the University of Michigan, where you stay great. You stay at the top of the standings and in the hunt for that playoff each and every year.
See,
I think he should stay.
I got you. That's all good and fair and honest. But when you get demolished in the college football playoffs and you realize, wow, the chances of trying to win, Chris, and not being an SEC team, is this going to happen? Are we going to get our heads handed to us? Because most of the teams, other than Ohio State early on when they first started the college football. Right. Other than that, Chris.
Usually they're getting crushed. Right.
You're getting crushed. And he had some success. He has unfinished business in the NFL. Didn't win a Super Bowl, right? Went to 3 straight NFC championship games. Finally got to the Super Bowl. The lights went out, and his brother wound up winning the Super Bowl. Right. You remember that? That was crazy.
Funny business went on during.
Oh yeah, it changed the whole game. Right. You remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
somebody kicked the plug out at the Superdome.
Right. Here's the thing, Rob. You mentioned a great challenge of beating an SEC team for the championship, and you're right. The Big Ten is behind the SEC by a nice little margin, so it's tough. But here's the difference to me. Obviously, as you know, going to the NFL would be a challenge. Heck, going to the Raiders would be a challenge. Nice division, you know. Justin Herbert on one end, Patrick Mahomes on the other. Nice, and let's see if Denver gets a quarterback.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot to deal with. And here's the difference, Rob. In the NFL, it's going to be just as challenging, but you won't have the security that you got at Michigan.
All right, now how about this?
You know that.
I got that. How about he looks at the NFC and says, okay, Aaron Rodgers got a couple more years there, right? NFC North. But Chris,
Brady's on
no,
his
I'm talking
way
about
out
in the
at
division. No, I'm talking about the division.
Right, okay.
But you got the Vikings in flux. You got the Lions
Detroit is
trying
Detroit.
to rebuild. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only one team there that's in the way.
Right.
Whereas, like you say, I'm talking about the division.
That's why I think you make a lot of sense when you say Chicago's a better job than the Raiders. It's not just what you have; it's what everybody else in your division has.
Division. No, I agree. That's another thing to look at.
And most of the great young quarterbacks, Rob, Patrick Mahomes, if you still got Lamar Jackson in there, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, what conference are they in?
Right.
The AFC. NFC, Brady, Rodgers,
all
Stafford,
older.
They're older. Russell Wilson, they're older. And Russ could be moving on to the AFC. Who knows? All right. Yeah, Harbaugh, we'll see. This is going to be interesting. But I'll tell you what, Rob, he is letting it play out. And that shows that he wants to get paid.